Hi there, Chuck Holton, and this is the Hot Zone. I go to war zones and disaster zones all over the planet. Some people call me a chaos correspondent. I guess that would work. Afghanistan is one of those places that I've spent a lot of my life over the last 20 years, and we've been doing a lot, doing some reporting on that on Monday, and we're going to continue that today. Today we're going to show you some interviews with Afghan leadership. But before we do that, check this out. Despite the recent increases in violence, things have gotten better in Afghanistan since I started coming here, at least back in 2007, 2008. You can look at factors like the infant mortality rate, which has gone way down. Gross domestic product is 5 times what it used to be. And life expectancy, which was only 43 years, is now in the mid-60s. So things are getting better, but the concern is that if the U.S. leaves precipitously, it could cause a lot of those gains to be reversed. All right, Afghan leaders, go.
We own this country. It is not owned by the United States or NATO. This is the country of the Afghan people, and therefore the responsibility is upon us to work for our people, to work for peace, and to do a million times more than those from abroad are doing for us to bring peace and stability to our country. They're leaving behind a country in conflict with so much loss of life, with so much suffering. No, they should go. I think we'll be better off without their military presence. I think we should defend our own country and look after our own lives. No, their presence is what we have now. So we don't want what we have now. We don't want to continue with this misery and indignity that we are facing when our children die in front of their schools. No. At least we will know who to blame then when they're not here. The heavy-handed, totally wrong US NATO military campaign in Afghanistan. The campaign was not against extremism or terrorism. The campaign was more against Afghan villages and homes. Putting Afghan people in prisons, creating prisons in our own country against our people, and bombing our villages. That was very wrong.
So that was Hamid Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan, who shepherded that country from 2001 all the way up till just the last few years. And he served, I think, two terms at least as president of Afghanistan. I met him, rode on a helicopter with him one time, almost got left in Bamiyan because of that trip. But here, I just have to say, in the case of, we think the United States needs to leave because whatever we're doing now isn't working and we need to try something different. 100% with him there. When he starts talking about the fact that Afghan civilians are suffering because of the American troops, I want you to hear this loud and clear. That is absolute horse hockey. American troops have done nothing but bless Afghan civilians. There are very, very, very few times when Afghan civilians have been hurt because of American troops, because of collateral damage, or because of Americans attacking Afghan civilians. We didn't attack Afghan civilians. As a matter of fact, I know people personally who literally put their lives at risk many times to keep from firing on buildings where they were catching fire from, but they didn't know if those buildings held Afghan civilians, and so they didn't shoot back. It really frosts my buttons to hear Hamid Karzai say that the American troops were causing Afghan civilians to suffer. No, it was the terrorists in your own country causing Afghan civilians to suffer. And if those people had stopped blowing things up for 3 seconds, we would have gladly left and left you your country back, you moron. The reason he's saying this is not because he believes, he actually thinks that Americans are targeting Afghan civilians. He's saying this because he's got to cozy up now to our enemies, Iran and China, or else he may not live very long after we pull out. That's the reason he's saying such things. But it's absolute horse hockey, and it disrespects the memory of every American troop who died in Afghanistan, to have the president that we put in power saying that Americans were targeting Afghan civilians and causing them to suffer. We were not. We never intentionally caused Afghan civilians to suffer. Our presence there, it is not what caused them to suffer. Our presence there was what kept them from suffering in the vast, like 99.9% of cases. The fact that American servicemen were in Afghanistan was a blessing to Afghanistan, not a curse. The fact that it's not working to completely defeat the Taliban, I agree. And the fact that we should leave, I agree. But don't give me this crap that we were targeting Afghan civilians. That just burns me up. All right, here's some more.
First of all, let me pay tribute to those Americans who paid the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan. Their exact number is 2,448, and over 1 million American men and women in uniform who during the last 20 years have served to protect your security and our freedom. This has been a major partnership where the United States is not spared anything in blood or treasure.
They both got very difficult jobs. Every time I think I've got a tough job, I think, Mr. President. But seriously, they're doing important work, trying to bring about unity among Afghan leaders up and across the board, and Afghans are going to have to decide their future, what they want. But it won't be for lack of us being helped. There's going to be and the senseless violence that has to stop, but it's going to be very difficult. But we're going to stick with you, and we're going to do our best to see to it you have the tools you need.
There have been reverses, we acknowledge it, but the key now is stabilization and ensuring that the defense of Republic isn't all-sided. The Taliban and their backers should know that force is not the way to compel an Afghan to submission. We still call on them to have a ceasefire and to engage in a political process, because a political settlement is the ultimate mechanism of ending a war. As Lincoln said, the best way of treating an enemy is turn him into a friend. I hope that they will see that compelling logic, but should they decide otherwise, they will face a ready nation. The decision of the president has been taken on the basis of very significant national consultation and deliberation. This is a sovereign U.S. decision. We respect that decision. Our course is to manage the consequences and to ensure that the people of Afghanistan rise to the challenge. What we needed in terms of assurance regarding support, both for the legitimate government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan and the people of Afghanistan, and particularly in this moment when we are facing both COVID and a drought. The President clearly articulated that the U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan will continue its functioning, that support of over $3 billion for the Afghan security and defense forces has been requested, that the program of record in terms of delivery of certain material like helicopters will proceed on accelerated schedule and related aspects. He's also clear that NATO and European allies that want to work and support the Afghan security and defense forces will be encouraged to do so. On the humanitarian front, first, the President will ensure that the vaccine is delivered to the people of Afghanistan, and humanitarian assistance of $250,000 has been requested. Also, additional resources for the support of the economy. The agenda of support for women and girls is particularly high. I'm equally very pleased with the support that the Congress has shown, both the Senate and the House.
Okay, believe it or not, that's actually really good. Whatever.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media.
Copyright 2021.